Hi there, welcome to a show where I talk about overlooked stuff, where people with nothing better to do might enjoy. Today's topic, Leona Jungle. Credit goes to Dead Space 4755 for giving me the idea. If you ever wanted to ensure all three lanes snowball comfortably, then Leona Jungle is an excellent pick. While Leona is usually the poster girl Vanguard supports who's always babysitting the ADC, Leona Jungle is a more aggressive breed, like a kangaroo going around waterboarding enemy assassins and mages like dogs. With her excellent CC and early game durability, she can aggressively gank with excellent results, often forcing the enemy to flash away. But despite her oppressive ganks, Leona Jungle has two weaknesses. First is her abysmal clear speed. Even though Leona can make it to scuttle healthily by skipping Krugs or Gromp, the problem arises in pacing when the enemy jungler can clear faster than you, forcing Leona to rely more on her teammates when taking objectives. The second problem is her lack of dueling capabilities. With a teammate, she's a force of nature. Alone, she's just an angry turtle. These problems combined make Leona vulnerable to invades and make her solo objective power very low. But I think that today's build can solve these issues. By running a fighter style build with PTA and Eclipse, the additional AD gives Leona increased clear speed while also increasing her dueling potential. And in order to maintain her durability throughout the game, we'll be buying either Sunfire or Hollow Radiance as the second item. With this quick fix, Leona Jungle goes from a kangaroo to a kangaroo on steroids. She has more solo agency to fight and farm in the jungle and becomes an even deadlier ganker because of her extra damage. Now let's talk about the runes to see how this works. For your rune page, you're gonna wanna take PTA for the dueling potential. It's a lot easier to activate than you think. You just gotta E, auto, and then Q reset, and then to auto attack, and boom, there you go, PTA active. Next up, you want to take Triumph for your skirmishing power, Alacrity so that you get that increased attack speed. This helps greatly with clear speed and also activating PTA. And then you want to take Coup de Grace for the final piece in your main tree because, well, finishing off targets is a key part of ganking. Next is the secondary tree. Now the secondary tree is pretty flexible, but I would highly recommend magical footwear so you don't have to spend 300 gold for boots, and cosmic insight so that your smite and ghost or whatever summoner spell cooldown comes back faster. Now you could also try going for something like water walking and celerity for the faster roam speed, or you could also try going bone plating. If I can find bone plating, yes. Bone plating and overgrowth for additional tankiness. But I personally, for the first time trying this, I would still recommend magical footwear and cosmic insight. Next up is the adaptives. For adaptives, I would recommend you take attack speed, adaptive force, and scaling HP. Now these are also pretty flexible, but once again, I highly recommend attack speed because attack speed will help you a lot in your first clear. And that's pretty much it for the runes. For your summoner spells, I recommend taking Ghost and Smite. Flash Smite also works, but I prefer Ghost so that I can chase down people and arrive to fights quicker by just pre-activating and just sprinting to lane and then just bashing them in the head with my shield. So yeah, I'd say Ghost Smite, but Flash Smite also works. Now as for your items, we're gonna do a standard jungle start with blue Pokemon and health pot. Build Bombies first to ensure you have the AoE damage and HP to clear jungle camps and voidlings. Next, build Caulfield's Hammer into Eclipse. For boots, take Swifties for mobility, Symbiotes for roaming, and defensive depending on the situation. Defensives are usually the best option in my opinion, but feel free to experiment. Next, turn Bombies into either Sunfire or Hollow Radiance. Sunfire for armor and Hollow Radiance for MR. Now, the final item for the core build is Sundered Sky. Sundered Sky gives you the final bit of power you need to 1v1 more reliably and survive in teamfights. The final two items are flexible and depend on the situation. Here are some recommendations. If possible, always build Navori's because that thing is mega stupid on Leona. 2-second CDR Qs and 4-second W and E's. It is hilarious. Always get it if you can. For potions, go Elixir of Iron for tankiness. As always, feel free to experiment on your own as well. In early game, start bot camp always. Ask for a leash if possible because it will help your first clear greatly. If you don't get a leash, then just smite the buff camp. After the second buff camp, you should be right on time for Scuttle. Normally I save the second smite for Scuttle to secure River Prio, but if that's not possible then you just have to risk it. What's important is that you make it to Scuttle on time. Now after making to Scuttle on time, look for a gank top or mid. Usually you'll run in and force a flash from the enemy. After the gank, do the final camp you skipped over, whether that be Grump or Krugs, and then recall. You should have enough money to buy bombies. If you got a successful gank, then you should be able to buy a longsword too. Focus on ganking lanes if possible, but if there isn't much hope then farm and contest objectives. Prioritize void links if possible, but if there's too much heat, just focus on dragon instead. Rinse and repeat and pray your laners have map awareness and the intelligence to maintain leads. Same thing as before except with way more skirmishing and objectives. Don't try to sneak it or out DPS the objective, you won't win. Instead, focus on engaging for your team and winning the team fight. This will get your team ahead of the enemy and give you a much better chance of securing objectives later on. Ganking is still a priority. Track the enemy jungler as best you can and try to counter gank whenever possible. At this point in time, if you don't have Eclipse, you're in trouble, because it's gonna become difficult to secure kills without the additional damage, so don't forget to farm when you can. In late game, focus on being a diver for your team, not necessarily a frontliner. With this fighter build, Leona is more effective as a diver/disruptor champion. Try to constantly harass and interrupt the enemy carries to give your team the upper hand. But if the enemy carry is a frontliner like Set or Aatrox, don't be afraid to roadblock them too. You can tank a decent amount of damage while also stopping them from destroying your backline. Get objectives, push, and hopefully win. Rinse and repeat. Here are the pros and cons and champion matchups. Leona jungle was a tough nut to crack. The lack of solo potential on Leona jungle was one of the biggest problems I had to tackle, and I almost gave up on it. I went through almost every rune page and tons of item builds and was about to call it quits and settle on Aftershock. But then I decided to make a last-ditch effort into some more research. I'm so glad I did because this video would not have been this good without that extra effort. I went digging into old builds for Leona jungle from 2021 till 2024 and was thankfully able to create a fusion of those builds that worked for 2025. Correct me if I'm wrong, but to my knowledge, this is the first Leona jungle build of 2025, so any improvements or feedback is greatly appreciated. So, what do you think? Have you ever done Leona jungle before? Do you have a build for it? What rune would you use? Did you enjoy watching, and did you subscribe? Do you have your own suggestions for this series? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Your idea could end up in the next community poll. And that's all for today, folks. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. Over 90% of my viewers are not subscribed to my channel, so consider doing so if you're interested. I'll catch you guys later. Rock Tofu, signing off.